The 1%er Podcast with Sam Bakhtiar, bringing you the 1% knowledge to help you reach your full potential. Learn what it takes to rise above the 99% and become a 1%er.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the 1% Podcast. Today, I have one of my all-time idols when I was watching him on TV, Mr. Dan Nitro Clark. Dan, it's so funny. You walked into the house, and this whole time I know you were coming. I'm like, man, I used to watch this guy on American Gladiators.
Well, you're a little kid, right? You're going to make me feel old. You're going to make me understand father time all in one moment.
Well, I think, I was like 16, 17, 18 or something like that. And I think at that time, you're like 25, you're at your peak. You were, I don't know exactly what year it was, but I just know I was looking at you, looking at your muscles, I was looking at everything you're doing. I'm like, oh my God, there were some badasses on that show. And you walked in, I'm like, man, this is so surreal. Never in a million years did I ever think this would happen. Isn't life crazy?
Yeah, life is crazy. I'm excited to be here, man, and thank you for having me among these amazing cars here.
Thank you.
They remind me of two girls I dated in college. One was Hope and one was Faith.
Oh God, that's so funny. I love that. I love that. So tell me, Dan, I mean, I know, you had a short career playing for the Rams.
Yes.
And so you played football. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me how that came about. Where'd you go to college and how your NFL career went?
So I was this kid. I was this overweight, fat kid.
You were?
Oh, gotcha. And I think you find a lot of fit people, I don't know if this is your story, that they were pudgy or fat, and that caused them a lot of pain when they were young.
Then you were like, fuck that, I just want to get in shape.
Yeah, it was, but for me, I'd never been good at anything. I had an older brother who was my hero, who was my idol. I just was kind of in his shadow. And then when I was 10, he was 12, he got into an electrical accident and he died in my arms. Mm-hmm. And I lost my hero and my protector, and that threw me out into the world. And I wanted to do good, not only for myself, but to make him proud of me. Mm-hmm. And I went out and I tried a few different sports, right? At first I tried baseball.
Baseball.
And I got in baseball, my stepdad took me out to the park, the ball came up, hit me in the head, started crying. Mm-hmm. Then I said boxing, tried boxing. So I went out and boxed, bang, 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 a little kid head-butted me, my lip started bleeding, I started crying. So my start was auspicious at best, Sam. And then I picked football as a way to hide, because those other two sports that I tried, it didn't end well. And I figured I'll have a helmet on, I'll have these pads on. Well, football back then, for certain ages, you had certain weight classes. Mm-hmm. And I remember for my age group, I was too fat to play.
Oh man, that's devastating.
But it's devastating, Gosh. Right? So instead of being able to hide behind the pads and go out and give a best effort, I was pushed to the sidelines where my jersey was up to my waist, my belly was hanging out, and I was in this group of two kids who were too fat to play.
Yeah. And
I hated that feeling. I hated that feeling of being excluded. So I just put my nose down and I went after it. Day after day after day. It took 4 years until I was a sophomore in high school, where for the first time, I actually had a coach pat me on the back and he said, "Good job, Clark." And that feeling, Sam, of positive encouragement, oh man, that became an addiction. And that's what I wanted. I wanted that positive encouragement. It filled me up inside. It filled these spaces that were large as Texas inside of me. And I think I've built a lot of my life in my teens and my 20s based upon that positive encouragement.
Wow. So tell me, when did you start it? So
let me. I'll go on.
Okay, yeah.
So that positive encouragement was something I lived for, and it made me. And I confused it for love.
Got it.
Right. So when I played in college, San Jose State, we played Stanford, 74,000 people, and you make a good play, and everybody,
yep.
And you feel loved, you feel whole. When I did American Gladiators, right, you walk out into Madison Square Garden, 16,000 people. They're yelling your name, Nitro, Nitro, as you charge in there, and it's a dream come true, and you feel loved.
Yeah.
But there was a weird thing where I had to understand myself, Sam, where when I had my most success, I was also the most empty inside. And at that point, you know, where I'm on billboards, I'm on the cover of TV Guide, I have an action figure, I'm at home at night drinking, doing drugs, and many times I'd wake up in the morning on the floor, spit come out of my mouth, crying.
So when you were at the top is when you felt the most empty. You know, I mean, is that correct? I mean,
That's pretty correct, yeah.
That's crazy because most people, that's what they want. They want to get to the top because they think that when they get to the top, that's happiness. But for you, it wasn't, and for a lot of people, it's not. Which we never understand that. A lot of people, it's not just you.
Yeah.
A lot of people reach the top, and then all of a sudden they're not happy, and sometimes you even, gosh, you see somebody who's at the top and commit suicide. I hate to even bring that up.
No, that's right, you're right, 100%,
and
Sam.
everybody goes, how can that person commit suicide? He's at the top. He's at the top.
Robin Williams.
Yeah, you know what? That's exactly what I was thinking.
The guy from Soundgarden,
Yeah.
and it's heartbreaking, it's tragic. I think Jim Carrey said it best. He said, I wish everybody could go out and get rich and famous so they would understand it's not everything they think it is.
Yeah.
But if you can find that inner peace, that happiness, and what meaning means to you, what's important in your life, and have that success, now that's winning.
So true.
That's winning.
Say that again one more time.
I
almost need to have this go again.
So I said, if you can have the external success, have everything you want materialistically, and still have that inner peace, that is winning, that is success.
So good, man. So good. Because you know something, Dan, I grew up very poor.
Yes.
You know, I grew up very poor. You know, we came to America, $500 on our luggage as immigrants. We went to a little town called Sharon, Pennsylvania. I didn't speak the language. You know, like I said, man, it was tough. So for me, success was always the mansion, the cars, and things like that, and now that I'm here, I don't give a fuck about none of this.
Well, you say that, but it's a little important to you.
No, it's really not now. Honestly, you know what's
So can I have one of these?
You can.
You heard that. I can have one. It's not important to him.
Hey, you're Nitro. You can have anything you want. You know what I mean? It's funny because I rather, if I was in this mansion and with these cars, and if I wasn't getting any better every day, I wasn't progressing, I would be depressed. However, I can be in a little 400 square foot apartment, and as long as I'm getting, so I found out that for me, happiness comes from progressing and getting better and making an impact,
Agreed.
Not just accumulating more and more and more and stuff. I tell my staff all the time, if I get a check for $1 billion tomorrow, my life wouldn't change that much. I have the house that I want.
You'll be able to influence more. You'll
Absolutely,
be able to get back
yeah.
in.
But as far
it's
as
really true.
Yeah,
what you personally need,
absolutely.
you have.
Yes.
Now, and I get that. And I agree with you. And I think, like what we were saying, Sam, inner peace, is the new success.
Yes.
And I think as people, we have a tremendous curiosity about us. And that curiosity keeps us moving forward. And I believe that happiness is when you can continue to have your reach extend beyond your grasp, right? When it's just out of your grasp and you're moving forward. When you can have one foot firmly in the present, but one foot where you're secure, where you're safe, but one foot always stepping forward in a new direction.
Yeah.
That's happiness.
So inner peace is the new success. I'm taking mental notes. So good.
Inner peace is the new success.
So true.
But Sam, that came from,
years of finding that out.
So in my late 20s, at the height of my success, when I was laying on the floor many times, from doing drugs all night, waking up crying, that's when I knew something was wrong. That's when I said, whoa, something's wrong. And I raised my hand and I said, I need help. And I went, and that's when I started therapy. That's when I lifted the hood and I said, I have to look what's inside of here because I have what I've wanted all my life.
On the outside, everything looked good, but on the inside, something wasn't.
Something wasn't wrong, and I had to figure that out. And a lot of it was going back to, losing my brother, having an alcoholic father. There was, my dad was wonderfully charismatic, but he was also very violent and abusive. So there was that, and I had to work through those things and stop thinking of, what I should be to what I wanted to be, to who I am. And that took, the last 25 years where I'm constantly tinkering, saying, what is happiness? What is meditation?
Because what you want to be is not necessarily what you should be.
Oh, absolutely.
And wow, like I said, man, I'm taking mental notes. Because this is a fascinating subject for me. This is a fascinating subject. I want to know. I want to understand. You know what I mean? And bro, I looked up to you for so many years. Now I know the guy I looked up to you. That I looked up to for so many years was drunk, crying, or on drugs. I didn't know that. And people need to know that, because sometimes everything on the outside can be perfect, but the inner battles, if you don't take care of it, sooner or later it's going to show its ugly face.
Right, and it's interesting because we are with cars here. If something goes wrong with your car, ping, 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 ping. Oh my God, I got to take my car to the shop. Yeah. But something can be wrong internally where you're drinking, you're self-medicating, you don't know how to be a person of your words, you don't know how to show up, you have anxiety, you can't pursue the dreams deep in your heart, you know something's wrong, but you never lift up the hood. Yeah. You don't give yourself the same decency that you would give your car. Yeah. And I think there was a lot of stigma with mental health, with the idea of, and I had this, the idea of, being strong and being tough. And a lot of times I think I built that wall of muscle, 260, to protect that little kid inside, Yes. And then once I was unable to take those layers, God, that vulnerability is tough.
Showed up.
That vulnerability to show up when you're not sure what's going to happen. To have the emotions to love when your heart's been broken. To have the courage to start a business after you've gone bankrupt. Those are all things that people go through. And I think people who don't have success, Sam, think that people who do have success don't go through those. I've worked and I know billionaires, professional athletes, Olympic athletes, and every one of them have doubts and fears like I do, like I know you do. Yeah. And the difference for that people that succeed, and this is the one differentiator, is that people who succeed act in spite of their fear. Yeah. People who succeed know how to motivate themselves when they don't want to, when they don't feel like it, when they're afraid. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, man. We just talked about it, about fear this morning. And one of the acronyms for fear is, false evidence appearing real, right? And it's so true. You know what I mean? How many times you feared something later on from that was just bullshit. You know what I mean? You always got to look at it. What's the worst thing that can happen?
It's not bullshit. Fear is not bullshit. Fear is a chemical reaction in your body.
To protect you, right?
Right. But it is a chemical reaction. You say, fear is bullshit. No, it's not, Sam. Fear is real. And some people have fear just to get out of bed. And other people have fear of, I got to slam this deal, I got to close this. Everybody has fear. And fear is a chemical reaction of adrenaline dump in your body. Yeah. But most people are accustomed to fear. If you're driving a car cuts you off, oh, shit. Yeah. Your heart beats, you feel all the same emotions, but you have a context for it. When you're about to make that phone call, you know what I mean? You're cold calling somebody, someone and I suck at trying to cold call. You're trying to call somebody, your heart's beating, you're all this stuff, and you don't understand because there isn't context, but it's the same physiological change in your body. But once you understand there's a physiological thing happening in your body, you're like, oh, that's just my adrenaline and my nerves trying to keep me safe. It is a system that was biologically put in me back when we were in the jungles, in the tribes where there was a lion.
To protect you.
Yes, we had a lion. We had to run like shit. Yes. The lion's after us. Yeah. But the challenge today...
It's a fight or flight.
Fight or flight, your parasympathetic nervous system, epinephrine, adrenaline. Yep. And once you realize that fear, and what I do is when I coach people who have fears or anxiety about something, I have them make a mental image of what that fear looks like. And I do it for me too. Okay, so I had back surgery we were talking about earlier. I had back surgery 7 months ago. Gosh. 3-level lumbar, I got a beautiful scar. I'll show you, I got a beautiful scar. And one of the side effects from the back surgery, Sam, is I got 3 blood clots in my leg and 2 in my lungs, 2 pulmonary embolisms, right? So the first time I got on a plane after the surgery, and I knew I had these blood clots.
That's dangerous, isn't it? Pain can.
Well, I don't know. I said, see, danger. Keep yourself safe. Those thoughts are deep. And I had the doctor tell me, no, you take this medicine, they're going to resolve. It's okay to fly. And so I'm going up on this plane. We're taking off. I think I'm going to New York. And I'm sitting there, reading some book about surfing and all this stuff. I was going to Costa Rica. I was going to do in Costa Rica. And all of a sudden, and I wasn't thinking, I had a little bit of headache. I had a headache, and I was like, oh man, I got a headache. That's weird. I got a headache. And that sat in my mind, well, wait a second. Headache is when you have a stroke.
Oh, you start really tripping.
No, I didn't. So I said, no, breathe. I got so much inner peace. I meditate and I practice all the time, and I'm good, right? Hour later, reading about surfing, all of a sudden, I feel like these tingles going up my leg, up my arms, my heart, I'm sweating, and I said, oh my God, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die right here on this plane, Sam. I am gonna die. They're gonna have to turn this thing around over the water, all these, and I panicked, and I got out of my seat, I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack, because I've had one. And I walk up to the flight, and I'm like, I have blood clots. I have blood clots. And she looks at me, and she's like, what? No, I haven't, but I'm on the medicine. And she's like, drink this. It has quinine or something. It's tonic. I drink it. I'm like, and I calmed down. And I was like, wow, what's that? That was so strange. I never had anything like that. And I went back and I talked to a therapist, and I said, well, what, you had a panic attack? I'm like, no. I'm Nitro.
Yeah.
I don't have panic attacks. I meditate every single day.
You know who I am?
Yeah. I even brought my action figures to her.
Oh,
I said,
dude, look,
I was like, I'm Nitro. I don't have panic attacks.
This is crazy. I had one of these. This is just so surreal that I had one of these in my dresser, on my dresser, and now the man is here in front of me. It's crazy.
So this guy, you guys can see this guy was having panic attacks. And I have to tell you, Sam, I felt so weak.
Vulnerable.
I felt so vulnerable. I felt so small. I felt shame. I felt embarrassed that I could not control my thoughts, and it made this physical reaction happen in my body. But the difference we talked about between people, I think, who have happiness, meaning, and success, whatever that means to you, when something happens to them, they have that curiosity and they have the ability to go get the information to see what it is. Yeah. So right away, I got a therapist, we talked about it, I read a couple books on it, and I became very clear that this is my body, like you knew right off. This is my body trying to keep me safe, man. This is it. Okay, what is a framework I can put into knowing that this is just adrenaline? And how do I put it into context? So now, last weekend I was in Hawaii, so I have 5 hours each way. 2 weeks before I was in New York, 4.5, 5 hours each way, like a whistle.
Speaking of heart attacks, though, you actually had one, a real one.
Yes.
You actually had
versus a panic attack.
I had a panic attack, and I thought I had a heart attack once. I remember it's the worst feeling. I felt like somebody stomped on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I remember I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna, wake her up. I went downstairs. I'm like, God, you're gonna take me. I literally started sweating profusely. My whole pajamas was just wet. Next day, I just went to Dr. Quietly. I said, Doc, I think I had a heart attack. So he put an EKG monitor for me, and I looked at it. He goes, no, I wasn't a heart attack. You had a panic attack. And again, just like you said, I felt like me, panic attack. What the hell, Mr. California? And
what did you do? How did you overcome it?
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, and then I understood the power of how your mechanism, can affect your mind, and you have to be strong enough to be able to realize that and be able to do that. But you had a real heart attack, which
makes panic attacks even worse because you think you're having another heart attack. So 5 years ago, December 13th, December 18th, 2013, working out in the gym, training, chest pain. Same kind of thought, like chest pain. What is that? Went back. I was doing a cardio workout. Went back, did more cardio. Chest pain. Went back. Cardio. Chest pain. And I did the dumbest thing. I said, it can't happen to me. So I got down there on a knee, and I kept trying to get back to work. And eventually, I couldn't. So I felt like somebody was stepping on my chest. The similar feeling to a panic attack. And I went to the back of the gym. I sat in the corner, and I'm sweating profusely, and the pain is squeezing and it's starting to go up on my neck. And then I looked down subconsciously, and I was doing this. And when I looked down and I saw my left arm shaking, and I was like, oh shit, that's what you do when you have a heart attack. And still I couldn't believe it was happening to me. Text my girlfriend, hey Sam, get my phone for me. My buddy brought my phone over. I text 911, call me. Waiting. And my buddy, asked me what's going on. I tell him all these things, and he's like, well, maybe it's a cramp. It's a cramp.
Muscle head. Your chest is just cramping up.
Maybe it's shoulder, but it's such a unique thing. So we don't call the ambulance.
You did not call the ambulance?
No, I didn't know, because it wasn't going to happen to me. He takes me to urgent care. I go into urgent care. They slap the things on. They're like, Mr. Clark, you're having a heart attack. And what? I got to call an ambulance. And I'm like, what? And ambulance comes. They take me to the hospital. I get in there. I see the surgeon. And the surgeon says to me, you've been having a heart attack for a couple hours. And I look at him. I said, well, I want to know, am I going to die? And at that moment, I wanted reassurance. And he just said, you know what?
We don't know.
We're going to do everything we can do, but I have to get you to surgery. And I had 15 minutes, Sam, between the time they brought me to surgery and I was in that room. And they do an exploratory angioplasty through your groin where they go look. They just don't split you open, right? And in that 15 minutes, I learned what was the most important thing to me in life. I didn't care how many cars I had. I didn't care how many homes. I didn't care about the plaques on my wall. I didn't care about this action figure. All I wanted, Sam, was I wanted the people that I loved close to me. Oh, man. And I wanted them to know how much I love them.
Oh my God.
That's all that mattered. So building my life back upon that experience, 5 years ago, I feel like I got the answers to the test before the test.
Yes.
I got to rebuild.
Gives you what's most important in life.
Yeah.
You get a second chance at life. So now you went back to the drawing board and said what's really important, and you wrote a book about it.
Yeah, I wrote my second book. It's called F Dying. Originally it was Fuck Dying, but then when I went to get on the morning shows, I couldn't get on. I called Channel 5, Fox, they're like, Dan, we can't have you on with that title, so I changed it to F Dying, How Cheating Death Kicked My Ass into Living, Loving, and Living My Best Life.
That's so profound, man. I think God is amazing. He does everything for a reason. Sometimes God puts you in a place where to show you that what's really more important and direct you the way you should be going. So tell me what since then. So
Sam, here's like 4 or 5. I did a TED Talk on this too. I don't know if you TED Talks, right?
Yes.
I did a TED Talk on this, and it's got 6 months. It's got 500,000 views.
Gosh.
I think it resonates because I think one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs and 1%ers is how do you keep in touch with what's important in your life while you live fully in your ambition?
So good, man. So good.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I know exactly. That's the struggle.
That is the struggle.
That's the struggle. That's every entrepreneur's struggle. How can you tell me? I want to know the answer.
How do you keep in touch with what's important in your life while you pursue your ambitions?
Yes.
And it's such a fine balance to do that. But let me give you the couple takeaways I got and how I rebuilt my life and what I share in this book is, number one, I've done a lot in my life, but I still found sometimes I would be a someday guy. Hey, let's go to a safari in Africa. Oh yeah, I'll get to that someday. I no longer say someday.
Because tomorrow wasn't promised. Now tomorrow is not promised to you.
Time is not guaranteed.
Yes.
So now what I do if someone says something to me, hey Dan, we should go to X, Y, and Z together. Yes, I won't say someday. I'll say yes, I'll say no, or I'll calendar it. Sam, yes, a year from now.
So good.
2 years from now. The second is I no longer waste time on things that don't matter with people that do. I no longer waste time on things that don't matter with people that do. And that's a hard one, especially in our interpersonal relationships.
Yes.
And I have to repeat that to myself every time because I feel
Give me an example of that.
Easy example. Girlfriend says, you didn't take out the trash. I'm like, why do I get to take out the trash? Right? And then you start to fall into arguing about something that doesn't really matter.
Yes.
Hey, you're a little bit late. Whatever these little things,
it's not worth it.
Breathe life.
You start looking at life at 30,000 foot view, not at a macro view anymore, because in macro view, you think you have all the time in the world and every little thing is a big deal. You saw that nothing's that important.
Yes.
Right? You saw it from a 30,000 foot view. Like you said, you got the test before the test.
Yeah, and it's a continual practice though. I find like an interpersonal relationship, or hey, I had a meeting with this guy, and that guy said something that kind of pissed me off. Before I go home, and I'd let it stew, and that son of a bitch. Now I just breathe and I let it go.
Yeah.
So I mean, just don't waste time on things that aren't important with people who are.
Yeah.
And that has brought all my interpersonal relationships. And on top, I realized that my family and the people I loved and my friends are the most important things.
Yes.
So I invest so much time in my 11 nieces and my son and my girlfriend's son and my brothers and my sisters. They've become everything to me. I also learned to believe that we each have incredible power. More power than we realize to make a change in the world, one positive human interaction at a time. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a term, I heard that from the Dalai Lama. He says, in every choice we have, when we meet somebody, we have a choice either lift them up or not.
Yeah.
And if you stack this on top of upstream reciprocity, the scientific term is if you go, Sam, or if you're listening at home or you're watching this on YouTube, if you go and you empower and lift up your kid, then your kid goes to school empowered and lifts up their friends. Their friends go
Chain
lift up.
Chain reaction. You know, that's something I struggle with. That's something I struggle with. Being a hard charging entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I'm always about moving things forward, going things and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes, you have to sit down and be like, hey man, let's relax. Let's make sure we uplift people, because when you uplift them, they automatically will perform. And I totally thank you for reminding me of what I could do better.
But none of that, that's what your camps do,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
transform people,
Yeah.
because transformation isn't just physical.
No.
Physical, it's not, man, because if you aren't transformed inside, you go back to that obese person.
Yeah.
You go back to that anorexic person. So it's a body, mind, spirit. I think we both agree
Absolutely.
on that. And that transformation, and we each have that power, because when you go out and you make a conscious effort to lift someone up, and sometimes it's just an encouraging word. Sometimes it's a hello. Sometimes it's opening the door. Sometimes it's just, sending your kid an email. Hey, kid, thinking about you. I love you.
It's the little things that go a long way. We always think it's the big things, but it's really not.
It's not.
So this is your second book.
This is the
Tell
second
me about
book.
your first book.
Well, the last thing, I want to get one more point there.
Okay,
I want to get
sure.
one more point there. And you said it, and I just want to continue upon what you said. You said a lot of people think it's the big things. But the research shows that it's not the magnitude of the events that make us happy. It's the frequency of them.
Wow. Okay. It's not the magnitude, it's the frequency.
That is prolonged, sustained happiness, right? So you think, hey, getting the big mansion, winning an Oscar, all those things do make you happy. Yeah. But the sustained happiness comes from the little frequency things, the small wins.
Yeah.
The small wins
Yeah.
every day. And I believe if you want to have happiness and meaning in your life and fulfillment, you have to design your days that way.
Yeah.
Right? Too many people go through their day and they're listening to other people's mandates for them, and they're going through blindly. I start my day like we both do with a morning routine, but I also start, what about today that I can control that would make today great?
Dan, speaking of that, man, I want to come train with you one day. So I can say I train with Nitro. We gotta set that up, man. We gotta set that up.
You'll crush me, man. Coming back from back surgery, you'll crush me.
It's not even about that. We can just do treadmill. It's just just to say, this guy that I looked up to was on TV. Now I worked out with him. That's just would be an honor. It's not even about it.
You're too kind, man. I gotta say, and you're ripped, man.
Man, I used to be like 200 pounds when I was competing in bodybuilding, and I'm like 160, 170 pounds. I feel good. Just keep the weight down. My goal now is to be able to see my children grow up and get married. It's not how big my bicep is anymore. And don't get me wrong, we all want to we go to the pool party or something. I don't want to feel bad about myself, but more importantly, man, it's just, your as you grow, as you evolve, your priorities change.
Well, it's interesting what you just said to me, Sam. You says, I don't want to go and feel bad about myself. Yeah. And that's interesting how I think people who succeed, they have a higher level of what's good enough to them. Yeah. Their thermostat is set higher because someone who looks like you, obviously, you take your shirt off, there's a sense of pride because that's work put in. But if you were to, gain 2 or 3 pounds, you would still look amazing. Yeah. But I think one of the other keys to success in being a 1%er is raising your what's good enough for you.
Yeah.
You know, I was recently, I told you last weekend, I was in Hawaii interviewing a couple of people for my podcast, Call 'em the Beast. One was a fighter pilot, and we're F-15s, and he's a CrossFit champion and all these things. And, you know, we had our shirts off on the beach. And I looked at him, and he looked like you. And I looked at me, and I looked like me. And and all I could think of was like, oh, I look like shit. I haven't, you know, I got a little pudge, which from the back surgery, which hasn't come back, and I'm working. And I didn't beat myself up where I needed to go home and have a drink or, you know, like self-medicate. But I realized, okay, this is healthy. What's good enough for me
Was raised.
was raised, but it's higher than the average person.
Absolutely.
And that's how you get to be the 1%.
Absolutely. 100%. You know, Tony Robbins says, you know, always raise your standards.
Raise your standards.
You know, and that's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
You know.
And I was okay because other people may look at it like, oh, you're obsessed. You're right, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with health. Okay. Oh, why are you letting that get you down? I'm not getting me down. I'm recognizing and shining a light that what's good enough for me is a little bit higher than it is for a lot of people who aren't succeeding.
You know, I talked to Grant Cardone a couple of weeks ago. We had him on the podcast. And obsession is a great thing if it's channeled the right way and for the right thing. You can be obsessed in doing drugs or alcohol like he did, or it can be obsessed about building a business and doing the right things and having a healthy obsession. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people who say, you know, this guy is obsessed, they're just lazy because they're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to raise their standards. They're not willing to sacrifice something for now for something better and greater later. You know, and
yes.
you know, and that's what, you know, and that's what the key to success is delay gratification. You know, how many times, you know, you wanted to, you know, there's pizza in front of you or, you know, nachos and stuff like that. And you're like, no, I don't want to do that because I want to be able to be healthier. I want to look a little better. I want to feel a little better. But most people cannot delay gratification. They're just at this moment, no matter what their circumstances is going to be later on. And that's the difference.
I think, you know, a lot of the people I work with as a coach who struggle, they get stuck in between the gap of where they are now and where they want to go.
Yeah.
And it's so long, Sam, it's so far away. You want to run a marathon, but you can't walk around the block and you give up because it seems so far away, right?
Yeah.
But what I coach, and which I know you coach as well, is just take that next step.
Yeah.
Right? Take that next step.
Yeah.
Walk around the block.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get more followers, go get 3 today.
Yeah.
Don't worry about, you know, Grant Cardone, who's got 1.6 million.
Yeah.
You know, go get 3 more today. Go get 5. Do not despise small beginnings.
Yeah.
Right? Because, right, every Olympic athlete, every champion had to start with that first step, that first training.
You know, when I've studied success, one of the best books that I've read is The Compound Effect.
I haven't read that.
Oh my God! You know, basically all it says is this: little things done correctly over a long time gives you big results.
Yes.
And little things done incorrectly over time will give you disaster.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And most people, you know, they do little things right correctly for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they don't see any results. They give up and then they go back to the old ways. But it's just a consistency day in, day out, which is not sexy. You know, put in the little work, little this and that. Over time, it adds. You know, just like, you know, if you want to save a little bit of money, hey, you know, $100 a month. Oh, that's not any amount of money. But if you do $100 a month consistently all the time,
yes.
next thing you know, that $100 is a lot of money over time. So most people don't want to be able to grind it like that, and you know, it's like too small. Most people underestimate, you know, what they can do in 5 years and overestimate what they can do in 1 year. So that's what the problem is.
Well, I think what you said was key, Sam, and boredom is the real killer of dreams.
Yeah.
Because you're not willing to do the little things right every day to transform.
Yeah.
Right? Because you said it, it's not sexy, it's that boredom. It's getting up and training every day when you don't want to, when you don't feel like it. Because we talked about this, anybody can take action when they're motivated.
Yeah.
But how do you get yourself to take action when you don't feel like it, when you don't want to, when you're afraid? Yeah. And your ability and your success, your happiness, the meaning, everything you want in your life falls upon that one fact.
Yeah.
Can you get yourself to take action
when you don't feel like it?
You don't want to, and when you're afraid.
Yeah.
And then what other tools, right? Because it's easy to say that, man. You know, hey, just get up and do it. You know, screw Nike. Just get up and do it. I can't. I'm afraid. I don't have the energy. I don't have the activation energy. What tools can you use to do that? And that's the secret sauce. And that's where people, I think really thrive. And the tools I use, one, is that procrastinating voice. I just tell it to shut up and sit down.
Yeah.
Hey, shut up, sit down, get down there. 2, I'll visualize.
Yeah.
3, I know if I just get through the door of whatever it is to the gym, right? So 4, I say, just do something for 5 minutes. I don't want to make cold calls today. I don't want to call just do it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So people are waiting for motivation that never comes. People are waiting to start instead of relying upon tools to become a 1%er. Yeah. And I saw your library. You guys, you should have a picture of this man's library. It's almost as big as mine. There's hundreds of books. And like you, I became a student of high performance.
Yes.
Many, many years ago. I read 40 to 50 books a year, and I saw that you did, and I just congratulate you on that, man.
Well, when you're passionate about something, it's not work. When I come home, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to dig in a book and read something about a subject that I love and learning something new. That to me is like the ultimate spa. I don't like spas. I don't like, sitting down here, someone rubbing on me all day. I want to be able to look, hey, what can I do next?
You're better than me. I like that. I would get a massage every day of my life if I had the time.
No, yeah, I get them, but it's like I'd rather really read a book, than get a massage. So tell me.
Wait, I find this though, and if so, this is for your listeners too. Sam loves reading books, and that's how he gets himself to do it, right? Mm-hmm. Me, on the other hand, sometimes it's a frickin' chore where there's a book I know I need to read about something in the personal growth space, and I have to use techniques to get myself to read.
What techniques do you use? Give me
well, exactly. So what I'll do is I'll get on the stationary bike at my house, and I'll put it there. So I tie it to something else that I'm doing that's good for me, that I know, where I'm not just, especially for so many people where they're tired all the time. They're tired, you're run down, you're beat up. So you have to change your physical state.
Yes, your physiology, yes.
You have to change it. And a lot of times when you put habits, when you habit stack.
Yes.
Right? When you habit stack.
Love it.
I get home, boom, I'm riding the bike. Okay, I have that book right there. I get out and I read that book.
You're doing it anyway, so you're going to beat her anyway. Might as well, right there.
Exactly. So if you're listening and you, Scott, my God, read, I don't have that energy Sam does. I'm not that passionate about it. Stack it on a habit of something that you're doing or will keep you awake. Or 2, I carry books with me everywhere I go, not just my own books, but books. So if I'm waiting in line somewhere, if I'm picking somebody up and I'm in the car for 5 minutes, I break out my book and I read it. You design it.
Better than sitting there and staring at the ceiling.
Yes.
And all that. Okay, so speaking of your other book, tell me about the Gladiator book.
Okay, so
that's your first book.
Yeah, this is my first book. This is my first book, Gladiator. Yeah, this is, if you're a fan of the American Gladiators, this is a good book. Fan, yeah. But it's, it's graphic.
Okay.
This is when I felt like a little kid, and the first time you can use the F word, you don't get in trouble. Like when you're 17, you say it all the time. This book, I went a little bit overboard. It was more like I bled and wept and cried on the page. And
well, that's what people want. That's what I want. I don't want the PG version. I want the real version.
Oh yeah.
And if that's the real version, I want it, and I want it signed. I want this, or I want to read it.
Okay. Then we're going to talk offline. I want to hear what your thoughts are. So this book is it's American Gladiators is the backdrop. But the book is really about a little kid who lost his older brother in his arms, whose dad was an alcoholic, who thought that life and significance and meaning came through being on TV. Kind of the story we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I see it right now, man. It says a true story of rage, and redemption. Yeah. But that just tells you, that's pretty much tells you what it's all about. Yeah. Like, and I cannot wait to dig into it.
And this is the great thing about this book, how everything's getting turned into a movie and a series these days. I'm working with a company right now who did the Wonder Woman movie, the Batman movies, and they're going to turn this into a TV series, like a limited TV series. So I'm excited about that because
I'm excited about that because that's the story that needs to be told.
It's transformational. Yes. It's about overcoming survivor's guilt. It's about, and again, chapter 17 is Playboy bunnies, porn stars, and something else. So there's There's that motley crew, fun, crazy stuff.
That was your life. That was your life. I mean, I know you lived a pretty crazy life at that time. You know, I mean, come on, you were an American Gladiator, one of the biggest shows on the planet. You were Nitro. You're a good-looking guy with a bunch of muscles, and I don't doubt that you live your life, and that's why you can tell about it. You lived through it to tell about it.
So there's some graphic stuff in there, but it's also I think it's transformational. It's about learning to walk towards a place that you want to go. And so many men, especially the big dudes who are, all about the muscle and this and that, and they read this.
It's a
and
shield.
I've wept and I cried, and this has been so transformational. And a lot of it has to do with steroids. Yeah. And how those create a certain persona and an identity, and how it's hard to step away from that identity. Yeah. It's everything that happened. And then the second book is more like, okay, I'm older, 15 years older or 10 years after that book, and I've had a heart attack and I faced my death, and I spent those years studying religion, psychology, meditation to figure out what makes a person happy.
Talk about a transformation. You've transformed tremendously as a human being.
Yeah.
As a human being, you've transformed tremendously, and it's been such an honor having you in the house, in my presence.
Oh, you're too kind.
No, I'm dead serious.
You're too kind, Sam. All the success that you've had, you're very kind. I'm very humbled.
It doesn't. All that stuff. It's like, dude, like, gosh, I remember looking at you. I'm like, wow. And then I saw you walking. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I've been rehearsing that last night. I'm like, gosh, man, this is crazy. Because I was in Sharon, Pennsylvania. I just came to America, and I was like watching the thing.
You're too kind, man. I'm humbled.
So what's next? What are you doing now? What's next for you? How can people get to know more about you, about your coaching, about what you have going on?
Good. So, again, I'm here to share information.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, you channeling people towards what I'm doing in the future. But the main thing I would want people to know is the things that we talked about today that have taken a lifetime to get. And I feel like it's my
maybe
mission.
2 lifetimes, because you died once.
Yes. I feel like it's my mission and my passion to share my life experiences and the tools that I've learned over the last 35 years to help people transform, become happy, successful, to calm the beast of anxiety, doubt, fear, so they can take action and find success. So that's the first thing I want the 1%ers to get away from this, and that's what's the most important to me. If you want to find me, I'm at Dan Nitro Clark on Instagram, Dan Nitro Clark on Facebook. I'm coming out with a new coaching program for the first time that's going to be downloadable, and I'll probably have that out by the time this is there. And you can go to my website, dannitroclark.net, and you can get both of these books on Amazon. And I would say get Gladiator if you're an American Gladiator fan. If you're a dude who's an athlete, get Gladiator first. If you're someone who's had a lot of success and you're looking to make a comeback, or if you're struggling and finding meaning and happiness and purpose in your life, and you're looking for a guide, you're at that age now, like, God, I've done so much, but I'm just not happy. I don't have the inner peace. This book here will be a guide. It's been transformational for so many people. And I'm grateful to you for what you do. And I admire what you've built coming, as an immigrant coming here with nothing, and building this life for you, and building these transformational camps in the service of other people, and your whole product line, which I'm just learning about right now. And you have to make me one promise. 2 promises. 1, you come on my podcast, Calm the Beast.
It's a done deal.
2, you send me home with some of your protein, because they gave me some of that cereal. What was it?
The cereal milk protein.
Oh my God.
Bro,
oh my God. I got to go home with a bucket of that.
I got you. I got you. I got you. I'll send you some stuff. I'll give you some stuff today. I'll send you some stuff, and it's truly an honor and privilege for you, to be here and use my stuff and all that. So we're going to schedule a podcast, but I want you to make me a promise that I
will work out with you.
Yes! Yes!
We'll get it done.
Yes!
We'll get it done, man.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being on the show. Hey guys, if you like today's episode, do me a huge favor. Go and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.